an NBA playoff game that could be an elimination game. The Celtics could be on their way out of the playoffs and the Heat on their way to the finals. We have about 10 baseball games to get to, so enough action to certainly throw some prop bets, some money line plays up on the line, and an NHL game to get to if any of you guys care about it. I appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you follow Butt Fumble Sports on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube. Butt Fumble Sports, place for content, place for fans. Every single day we go live. Make sure you're hitting that like button. For all those who are new to the show, we give out picks every single day. Every time we hit a 2,000 like benchmark, we give out a pick. And also, when we hit a confetti, one of our live goals, we also give out a pick. So make sure you're hitting that like button. And of course, make sure you hook us up with that confetti. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. Really excited to get into all this action. Now, as always, we look at how we've done over the previous day. Yesterday was a really interesting day for us overall. First of all, there are a number of sports bettors that I kind of look at, follow, whether I'm comparing my bets or I'm curious to see how they do. And yesterday, for the sports bettor that I like to follow, he had a similar day that I did, which was an ugly one. Home runs weren't flying for the guys we thought. A number of people that we expected to be able to actually make it, go deep, weren't there. But LRK, I didn't see your live at all yesterday. Well, we were live. LRK425, we were live. We just were a little live early, 11 a.m. yesterday, just like we are today. So hopefully TikTok is giving us love and we're not having any of those issues. But certainly welcome all of those into the show. IP Shade 45, Angel, LRK425. So appreciate all of you joining us. And by the way, if you ever have an issue viewing our show on TikTok or if you're watching on Instagram Live, if you guys ever have an issue viewing our show live or you want to view the show after the fact, we post every show up on YouTube. It's up on YouTube every single day, Butt Fumble Sports. And that way, if you ever miss a show, ever want to jump into some of the action or review some of the picks that we've made, you can always find us on YouTube. Great to see so many familiar faces. Alexander, wonderful to see you today. YA Tittle 24. Don't worry, we're going to jump into a lot of the MLB action today. Really excited about all of it. LRK425's hitting that drum, betting against the A's. I love it, love it, love it. Love to see all of you here and love to see the enthusiasm that this audience brings every single day as we jump into our show. Once again, I wanted to just show you how we did yesterday because we don't hide how we did. We're forward about did we do well, did we not do well. NHL, I was surprised that Hurricanes-Panthers game went above that total that we set. We missed on that one. Where we really hit it yesterday, we hit it on our MLB game picks. We went 5-0, but we went 3-0 on one game, and all of that thanks to Trey Turner. We were big on that over in the Diamondbacks-Phillies game, and we were sweating it in the ninth inning yesterday, but fortunately, it all came through. Thank you, Trey Turner, for cashing those tickets. So we did well on those. As for our overall player prop bets, it was just one of those nights. Sandy Alcantara, only 3 strikeouts. Bryce Harper didn't get 2 bases. Aaron Judge had 3 walks, and thus we missed on both of our player prop bets for him. Paul Goldschmidt didn't get 2 bases. It was just one of those days where a lot of guys, it's not so much that they didn't have contact, they would fly to deep right field or deep left field. It's not that they didn't get on base, it's that they had a walk as opposed to a hit. So for all those reasons, wasn't one of our better days, but we share what we did so you guys know how the trends went. Again, 5-0 on our MLB game picks, 5-13 in our MLB player prop bets. Stinky, poo-poo. Hopefully we can bounce back from that. NHL we missed and we went 0-for-7 in the long balls. So again, hopefully we can do a little bit better today. If we put 1 unit on everything, it was not one of our better days. We did okay for this reason. Because we took the MLB games, we did okay. And a couple of the bets we had were at decent money. But it was definitely a minus day for us. Let's hope we bounce back today. Of course, we have NBA game to get to, which certainly will help us in our opportunity to cash some tickets. That said, as we always do, we delete the results from yesterday, or we throw the results in the graveyard, because that's yesterday's news, and we have a brand new slate of action to get to. So for all of those joining us, you know how we do it. Make sure you hit that like button. That way we give out picks every time we hit 2,000 likes. And every time we hit one of our live goals with that confetti. We give out a pick as well. Again, we're loaded up with our trend plays of the day, so we have a lot of picks to give out. However, before we get into our picks, there is a big betting note, a very important game note for that Celtics Heat game tonight that I want to make sure all of you guys are aware of right off the bat. Gabe Vincent is not playing today. Gabe Vincent is not playing today. So his ankle injury from Game 4 is impacting his status. He is out for tonight's game. That is really important for you sports bettors out there. It may not actually impact the total as much as it does some of the player prop bets. First of all, don't take Gabe Vincent. But second, throughout the show, we're going to look for good opportunities today to be able to take players who otherwise wouldn't be getting the same kind of opportunity if Gabe Vincent were on the floor. I'm looking at you, Max Strus. Max Strus should have the ball in his hands a lot more. He should be more likely to score. For a number of reasons, we're going to go through a lot of the player picks today to see how Gabe Vincent's absence is either going to help or hurt the Celtics, help or hurt the Heat, and that way we can find a few more cashing tickets. Again, I had about 3 Gabe Vincent prop bets actually loaded up that I'm going to have to put to the side. He is out for this game. One more time, Gabe Vincent is out for this game. So throughout the show, we will look at how the player prop bets in that game will be affected. We have already hit 2,000 likes because you guys are amazing at getting us into our show. So I want to give out a pick to say thank you to everybody. By the way, one more time, we give out a pick every time we hit 2,000 like benchmarks. And when we hit that confetti, we've hit 2,000 likes. So I am going to give out a pick right away. The first pick I'm going to give out an MLB game pick today. We went 5-0 on those yesterday. Would love to start going off on those really consistently. So I'm going to give out an MLB game pick of the day. The first pick that I'm going to give out for this day is Cardinals-Reds, and I'm sure you guys are already thinking it. I'm going with the over. I'm going with the over on this one. I'm taking it at over 9. That's an alternative line. I'm getting it at -190. So again, I am taking the Cardinals-Reds over 9. That's an alternative line. Now, here's our reasoning. I'm throwing up our ballparkpal.com. You see the likelihood of runs is up in this game, but likelihood of home runs is a tick down. That's why I took the alternative line. If this -7 was higher, if this ballparkpal.com was showing me that home runs were going to be in greater probability, I would take it at 10 or even 10.5, but because this is a tick down, that's one of the reasons I went to the alternative line. And importantly, for all of you who bet on sports, if you can find alternative lines, go for it. Try to take as much of an advantage as possible. Do I mind that my bet's at -190? Absolutely not. As long as I cash that ticket, what do I care? I care about putting money in my pocket, not running the risk and losing it just because it comes at better odds. So with that said, our first pick of the day that we just threw up on the board is Cardinals-Reds over 9 runs. Again, we're getting that at an alternative line at -190. A couple notes for this one. Luke Weaver is on the mound for the Cincinnati Reds. Dude gives up runs. He does give up home runs. Even though the likelihood of home runs may be a tick down, there still may be some opportunities to take home runs in that game. We'll get to that in a little bit. But keep in mind, still like the Cardinals offense in this one. I know they had the lackluster day yesterday. It was the Reds offense who kind of burst through yesterday. I would expect that to swing back around and the Cardinals have a good offensive day. A few more trends for you on this one before we jump into your questions and comments. The over is 6-1 in the Cardinals' last 7 road games. The over is 4-1 in the Reds' last 5 games with a total set between 9 and 10.5 runs. Plus, the over is 9-3 in the Cardinals' last 12 versus a right-handed starter. So looking up our trends. By the way, if you want to see a lot of the trends that I like to go to, the website I like to use for trends is called covers.com. Covers.com. If you go to covers.com, you can actually go to the game. You can hit on trends. This is where we get a lot of our trend information, and you can see how teams have done over a length of time, if it's a hot trend or not. Want to make sure you can see it on the screen. So this is where we get a lot of our trends from. For all of those who are new to the show, this website is called covers.com. Covers.com. It's a really good tool. It's free. I've been using it for years. When I was in sports media producing, used it a ton. This is a great tool. So for all of those who love following Fumble Sports and are curious about how we get our information, How do we put together our show? Where do we find our data? Covers.com is one of those places we go. Really recommend it. Really good tool. That said, want to be mindful, these are trends. So this is one of those things where you're always looking in the rearview mirror with Covers.com, where I do think Outlier, which is another betting tool that we use, does a bit better in kind of predictive analysis, as opposed to Covers.com is always looking at the road you've just come through. So anyways, appreciate all of you guys joining us. That's one of the best bets we have of the day. Cardinals-Reds over 9 runs. Frankie is asking about, do I like the over 9.5 at plus 100? The answer is I do, but there's a reason I took the alternative line. I was worried about that hook being against me. So for that reason, I really like having the hook in my favor. That's why I took it at the 9. But Frankie, I don't think it's a terrible play. I think there are going to be runs in the game, so not a terrible play. And again, it might be a nice idea to also take the Cardinals on the money line. I'm not going to put that up on the board. It's not one that I actually had enough confidence in to put up on the board. But I do think the Cardinals offense will have a bounce-back game. They have the better starting pitcher on the mound, Miles Mikolas, over Luke Weaver. So for that said, if you are considering the over, but you're looking for another way to take this game, maybe taking Cardinals on the money line is an interesting play. Getting a question in from YouTube. David, great to see you on YouTube. David, thank you for your support. You ask, thoughts on Rob Williams over 6.5 points. Okay, you're asking about a parlay. So really quick, I'm just going to jot it down. That way we can go through each angle of it. So David's asking about Robert Williams over 6.5 points. You're asking about Al Horford over 2.5 over 2.5 assists. Grant Williams over 1.5 assists. And by the way, yes, I fully expect, David's asking, do I expect if Derek White will start over Rob Williams? I absolutely do expect that. IP Shade 45, thank you for the heart. Thank you for the heart as well as the confetti. I'm going to give out another pick thanks to IP Shade 45's confetti. However, I do want to dive into this parlay first to answer David's question. And I'm sure a number of you are also going to be interested in some of these player prop bets that he just brought up. So make sure you're paying attention now. The first one we're going to look at is Robert Williams over points. Robert Williams on points. I know a couple of you got burned on his points in Game 4 because he missed at the free throw line. Looking at points, 6.5 is where it's set. The implied probability on the over is only 51% compared to under at 55%. Let's look at it. So interesting. If I take the over 6.5 like you are, it's been a fairly consistent play. 4 games in a row. 4 games in a row. Here, I'm gonna bring this size up so you guys can see it better. So 4 games in a row, this is hit where he's gone 7 points or higher. If I take that at home, 2 of the last 5, but both games were against Miami. And we also know he was in the starting lineup for these 2 games. One of the reasons I'm a little bit hesitant about it. Looking at the Heat overall, 4 straight games against the Heat he's hit it. 4 straight games against the Heat. That's 4 straight games at home against the Heat, I should say. And then against the Heat overall, 5 straight games against the Heat, he's gone over this total. So what I would say is, David, the first leg of your parlay, Robert Williams over 6.5 points. I lean slightly towards the over. I do like this slightly towards the over. So that's the first leg of the parlay is Robert Williams over 6.5 points. Now let's go to Al Horford. Al Horford, and we're looking at over 2.5 assists for Al Horford. So the 2.5 assists, the implied probability on this one, you can see the under set at 58%. Under set at 58%. We're looking at it from the over perspective for David. Now this trend doesn't work in our favor. You can already see has not been a solid trend, hasn't been consistent. One of the reasons I'm also a little hesitant on this is I think Al Horford is very cognizant of how important his shooting is in this series. And so his shooting from 3 may deter lessen his likelihood of passing, distributing, getting those assists. Hasn't been a strong play. Let's look at it head-to-head against the Heat. Not as strong a play. Let's look at it over the last 10 at home. Not a strong play. So for a number of reasons, this one doesn't have the trends in its favor. So over 2.5 assists for Al Horford is a no-go for me. No-go for me. It's one that the trends don't back it up, David. So I would not touch this one. I would not touch Al Horford over 2.5 assists. Now let's go to the last leg of the parlay that David was asking about. That was Grant Williams. And you were asking about 2.5 assists for Grant, or 1.5 assists for Grant Williams. We're not seeing any results up on the board from Outlier. I'm willing to refresh to see if maybe that... Yeah, we're not seeing any odds on this one. So the Grant Williams leg of that parlay, we're not seeing it out there at all. So appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you're hitting that follow button. Make sure you're following Butt Fumble Sports, no matter which platform you watch on, TikTok Live, Instagram Live, or on YouTube. Make sure you hit that follow button. That way you know every time Butt Fumble Sports is live. We have a pick to give out because IP Shade hooked us up with that confetti. IP Shade 45, so appreciate your support. Always want to take care of you and especially want to pay off those who give the gift. So IP Shade 45, what kind of pick would you like? An NBA player prop bet, an NBA game pick, an MLB game pick, or an MLB player prop bet? IP Shade 45, let us know what you'd like to pull out from our bag and throw up on our big board. Would love to pay it off for you. We're about to give out our second favorite pick of the, or a second pick of the day. We like all the picks we give out, but we're about to give out a second pick for IP Shade 45. Just curious to know what kind of pick IP Shade 45 would like. For all of those who are watching on Instagram Live, if you want to see our picks up on the screen and the research that we do every day right in front of you, go over to our YouTube channel, hit that link, and go over to our YouTube channel, Butt Fumble Sports. Mr. Chubbs, yes, we're taking the over 9 runs in that game. We took it at an alternative line for Cardinals and Reds. We wanted the hook in our favor. To the comment that just came in on YouTube, you're absolutely right. He has 2 assists in his last 3 games against the Heat. If you're talking about Grant Williams, I'm not going to rely enough on Grant Williams. I actually also think he is really important to the Celtics as a 3-point shooter. He's going to post himself up in that corner and try and knock down some threes. So once again, I'm focused less on him, much like Al Horford, focused less on him as a facilitator in assists, and more focused on him as a scorer, especially from the 3-point line. Okay, IP Shade 45 hasn't gotten back to us, so I'm definitely just going to give out a pick right now to say thank you to IP Shade 45 for the gift, and also to make sure all of you guys are getting all these picks. So we're going to throw up another pick right now. I'm going to stay with baseball, and I'm going to go to another game pick. For this one, I am going to go to the San Diego Padres on the money line. Padres on the money line. I'm getting it at -170. Blake Snell on the mound for San Diego. He's going up against Jake Irvin for the Washington Nationals. The reasons I like the Padres in this game: Padres are 8-3 in their last 11 meetings against the Nationals in Washington. The Padres are 6-1 in their last 7 games versus starter with a whip above 1.3. And the Nationals are 19-39 in their last 58 home games versus a left-handed starter. So there's just a large sample size data on this one. I like the San Diego Padres on the money line. I'm taking it at -170. That is our second pick that we've put up on the board. Thank you so much, IP Shade 45, for hooking us up. Everybody, we have a lot of research to do. Throw your questions in the chat. We are here for it. Alexander, I have won 2 dime play today, over 215 Heat game. Alexander, I'm right there with you. I like the over in that game as well. In fact, I'm willing to put that one up on the board. For all of those who are looking for an NBA game pick, I'm willing to go on there with you. But let's dive into it first in our research. So we're going to go to our Outlier app. I'm liking the over. I'm curious about the over. Over has been a strong play over the last 5 for the Miami Heat, especially when it's set at 215.5. So really like that side. Meanwhile, Celtics, same thing. Really like it. Set at the 215.5. Again, last game was set at 215 exact. The 215.5. Maybe you don't want that hook going up against you. Maybe you don't want that hook against you. So if you want to get on the other side of it, I still think there are a lot of really good plays to be made. So I appreciate, or Alexander rather, you brought this up. This is one in which I would double down on it. And I wouldn't just take over 215.5. I take it at a number of spots. There are a number of places I would take this. So we did this yesterday for the Diamondbacks-Phillies game, and I'm considering doing the same thing for this NBA game tonight. So I like the Heat, Celtics, I like the over, and this is how I would play it. I would take a number of alternative lines. I would take over. Look at how many over takes I could, plays I could make at minus 200 or better. Over 209.5, over 210.5, over 211.5. I could ride all of this. If I like over 215, I could take all of these. That's one of those where I think of my friends who work on Wall Street. If you like a stock at one price, well, you're going to love it at a lower price. If I think the over is going to hit at 215, I might take, as crazy as it sounds, I might put 4 bets on the over at 4 different alternative lines. Over 210.5 at minus 170, I really like that. Over 211.5 at minus 158, I still like it. I'd ride that. So for a number of you guys who are curious about how I would play the over, I'm going to throw that up on the board, but I am going to throw up these alternative lines as well as the total I like. I don't like the 215.5, by the way. The 215.5, I don't want that hook working against me. If anything, I would take the over 215 at minus 109 and live with a push, but I don't want that hook fighting me the entire game. The hook ended up hurting anyone who took the 215.5 last game. So for that reason, I would avoid that. I would avoid that hook. But I'm willing to take, let's see how many ways I can take it. So 211.5 at minus 158, I like it. Over 212.5 at minus 142. Over 213.5. I'm getting that at minus 128. Still like it. Still like it. And I'll complete the thought by just going over, let's say the 215 right here. Over 215 at minus 109. I'm going to ride all of those. You may not want to tail me on this. You may not have the same level of confidence, or you're not willing to double down in the same way that I am. But I love this kind of play. When I have the opportunity to ride this game like it, I really like it. Really like it. Appreciate all of those joining us. Make sure you're hitting that follow button. Make sure you follow Butt Fumble Sports every single time we're live. We always ask for your questions and comments. Always love this audience engaging with us, so make sure you know when we're live, and that way you can always participate in the show. Alexander, I'm looking at Vegas lines. You've been on fire. Well, Alexander, you're always on fire. We love getting your picks. LRK425, what are we doing with the A's? LRK425, you know we're always fading the A's. You know we're always betting against the A's at this point. I actually saw something that the A's have been the best team to bet on in baseball this year as long as you bet against them. They're just slightly now above the Rays in terms of the best bet. Now, obviously, I'm always cautious to take that because for every time you bet them, they're always at bad odds, and so you have to give up more money to get less. But still, the A's have been a really good bet so far this year. Appreciate all of you joining us. Make sure you hit that like button. If you're watching on TikTok, hit that like button as many times as you can. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button, but just once. We really appreciate the support. And of course, throw those comments in the comment section, whether you want to ask us a question, share your reaction. Love getting comments from all of those on YouTube. Here are a few. David, sorry to keep pumping out the questions. Not at all. Derek White, over 2.5 3-pointers is plus money. So D. White, over 2.5 3-pointers made. And he has hit 4 in his last 4 games. White's over. Okay. No issue. And Top Dog, great to see you. Welcome back to the show. Really appreciate you being with us. So, want to make sure you guys are getting some good information around this NBA game tonight. We're going to look at a prop play that we were just asked about by David on YouTube, which is Derek White. And we are looking at over 2.5 3-pointers made. David, the one thing I would say is a lot of the parlay picks that you're asking about, the implied probability has been working against you. In almost every single one, the implied probability is on the other side of the pick that you're considering. Just be mindful of that. Just be mindful that the implied probability is not in your favor. However, pretty strong trend right here about Derek White having 3 threes. This has been a really strong trend. It's happened in every single Miami Heat game he's played in the series so far. Now, prior to that, if we just look about how he's done against the Heat, he's hit 2 consistently. So in 4 out of his last 5 games, or 5 out of his last 6 overall, let's see how he's done at home. So at home against the Heat, 4 out of the last 5 at home overall. This is a pretty strong play. The trend is there. So even though the implied probability isn't there, I do like this one. Derek White over 2.5 3-pointers made. The trend is there, David. So even though the implied probability is not, the trend is there. I also think Gabe Vincent's absence may help with this one. Gabe Vincent is absolutely a defender who could find himself on Derek White throughout the game. So Derek White, maybe not having that kind of sticky defender on him, could benefit his 3-point shooting. So what I would say is you're sweating this pick the entire game. Given that he's not hitting 4 or 5, it's been consistently a 3. You're going to be sweating it. But it is a good play according to the trends. So David, I'll certainly endorse it. I'm not going to throw it up on my board. I'd consider it, but not quite there. Boss Lady, so great to see you. Boss Lady is asking about the Golden Knights plus 1.5 on the puck line. Let's go look at that NHL game tonight. So Vegas Golden Knights, you're getting it at the plus 1.5. Let's see if we can as well on an alternative line. And the answer is no. The answer is no. Vegas plus 1.5, there it is. But it's at minus 250. Boss Lady, are you okay with it being at minus 250? Is that too long a play for you? I tend to like this play. As you can see, the Knights have been really good keeping games close, whether they win or lose. It has been, it has been consistently within a 1-goal difference. So love that trend right there, just looking at the Vegas Golden Knights. On the other side, you can't say the same about Dallas. Which actually makes me feel good about the play, is that Vegas has not only been the better team, but Vegas has been able to stay close, even in games they've lost. Not just in this series, but in previous series like those against Edmonton. So for a number of reasons, I like this one, Boss Lady. I like the Vegas Golden Knights plus 1.5. I'm actually willing to throw that up on my board. By the way, I also think the residual or remainder factors from that previous Game 3 are going to play out. I thought that not only were the Dallas Stars embarrassed, I thought a lot of people talked about the Boston Celtics kind of quitting after during Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals. If hockey were bigger in this country, ESPN would be talking about how the Dallas Stars quit in the first period of that Game 3 against Vegas. Not only did they give up the early goals, and Jamie Benn obviously had that terrible penalty which cost him the rest of the game, but the remaining 2 periods, I saw no life out of the Dallas Stars. They really were inept. I'm curious to know how they're going to bounce back. I think Vegas has all the momentum, and I do like them to cover. I'm going to throw this one up on our board. It is not a good play in terms of the odds, but we're going to take it anyways. I'm going to take the Golden Knights plus 1.5 on the puck line. Again, we're getting that at terrible odds. What did I say? Minus 210? Minus 250. So, again, this is one where you'll definitely want to consider a parlay. You'll definitely want to consider this and maybe one of your 2-leg parlays, something like that. By the way, Tyler Jenkins, thank you so much for following us. Really appreciate it. But for all of those who are considering this game tonight, I'm not saying I don't like the Golden Knights, but at that minus 250, you may want to find ways to take it in a parlay. Appreciate all of those who are joining us. If you have questions, we have answers. Whether you're watching on Instagram Live, TikTok Live, or on YouTube, make sure you throw your question in the chat. We are here to answer all of your questions. One question that we just got in is about the Celtics on the money line. Do we like the Celtics on the money line tonight? This is a tough one for me because, first of all, you heard me yesterday in our previous show. I really don't like the fact that the public is so heavily on the Celtics right now. I don't feel like the Celtics have been the better team in the series. I think that's been the Miami Heat for a majority of the series. I don't think actually the Celtics were that much better in game 4. I thought they were the better team in the second half. For a number of reasons, I'm really cautious about this game. Yes, it does feel like a Celtics money line play. Not because they're at home, but more because I think the Gabe Vincent injury is a really big factor. The Heat are not deep. With no Tyler Hero, no Victor Oladipo, and now no Gabe Vincent, that's a short bench. I think Eric Spoelstra is making a really calculated decision. I think he is making the determination that the Heat have some rope remaining in this series, so they don't want to hang themselves in Game 5 by pushing Gabe Vincent out there, having the injury really get even worse, and that could impact their ability to win in Game 6 and 7. This feels like it should be a Celtics win, and that concerns me. This feels like it should be a Celtics on the money line play, but the reason it concerns me, don't you feel like that's what the entire country is saying? That's what every sports bettor is saying, is Celtics on the money line? One of our rules, you'll see it up on the screen. If everyone likes the same bet, be wary. Vegas wins on the public losing. So this is definitely one where if I'm going to put a pick up on the board for this game, I would split it both ways. I'm going to say take the Celtics on the money line. Take the Celtics on the money line. I'm throwing it up here because I know you guys are going to ask about it, so I'm willing to share it now. I would take Celtics on the money line at minus 300. I hate that pick. I hate it. I'm just going to say it now. I'm sharing it with you because based on the trends, based on the data, it does look like it's going to be a good play, but I don't like it. On the other side, I'm taking the Heat at +8, and that's the play I actually really like, is Heat +8 at minus 105. To me, that's a no-brainer. And again, I'm actually going to probably double down on this one, just like I did for that baseball game we looked at, or for the over rather. I want to look at alternative lines for this game, and I want to find ways to take the Heat, because everyone's trying to talk me into the Celtics right now. I don't feel that way about the Celtics. I feel that way about the Heat. I'll take Heat at +10.5 at minus 150. I'll tack it on. I'll take Heat +10.5 at minus 150. So there you can see I'm pretty well loaded up on both sides of this. If I had to take a money line play, it would be the Celtics, but I'm not crazy about it. I'm really not crazy about it. In fact, I'm actually going to pull it off the board. I'm not crazy about it enough to actually give it out. So you guys can see it. It's a pick that I'll reference, but I actually don't feel good enough on it as a trend to put it up on the board. I'm going to rip it off. That said, Heat +8, Heat +10.5, even with Gabe Vincent out, the trends have suggested that 1, the Celtics are not a good team at home. 2, the Heat have played the Celtics really well in the Garden. And actually, I also wanted to bring up one of our favorite things to talk about, and that is looking at referee assignments. I know we looked at this in Game 4, and it played out really well for us. Mark Davis is the lead ref for this game. How have these two teams done with Mark Davis? The Miami Heat, with Davis on the call, 2-1 with a plus 8.3 point differential. So Mark Davis, when he's the lead ref, the Miami Heat, 3 games, not a huge sample size. They're 2-1, but a plus 8.3 point differential. Let's go to the Celtics now. How are the Celtics with Mark Davis on it? 3-4, a negative 2.6 point differential. I'm not saying this locks in the Celtics as a loser. I'm not saying it locks in the Heat as a winner. What I'm saying is, if I have to look at all the factors, how the Celtics have played at home, how the Heat have played on the road, how the Heat played in Boston in the first 2 games of the series, what should be my expectation? My expectation should be that the Celtics don't cover the spread, that 8 points is too much. Even with Gabe Vincent out, I'm going to take the Heat to cover. So once again, I've thrown that up on my board. I'm taking the Heat to cover in that game. make sure you hit that follow button. And for those who are asking about, for those on YouTube who are asking some questions, don't worry, I'm going to get to your questions in just 1 second. Okay, so user 7082, first of all, we will give out a NASCAR pick. We will give out a NASCAR pick. It's not going to be in today's show, but we have an outstanding, so I don't do our NASCAR picks. We actually have an expert who does our NASCAR picks who has a background in auto racing. He is a brilliant racing pick or handicapper. So that said, his pick comes out tomorrow. We don't have an Indy 500 pick. I do not have an Indy 500 pick. I don't have one. But our Coke 600 pick will be coming out tomorrow, user 708. We are going to put a video out on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube that will have our pick for the NASCAR Coke 600. So if you want our NASCAR pick, we will put that out in a video tomorrow. In fact, I actually do have his notes, so I can actually tease that a little bit. Okay, I can tease it a little bit. I can give those out. So, user 708, I do have a NASCAR Coke 600 pick for you. The two I would put out there, we're putting out two, and that is Chase Elliott, and Kyle Larson. Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson are the two drivers that our NASCAR handicapper has identified as the two potential winners. Once again, that's Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott. Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott are the two that our NASCAR handicapper has given me. So thank you to our NASCAR handicapper. He likes to remain anonymous, but he's outstanding at what he does. That said, the NASCAR Coke 600, Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson are his two picks to watch to win that race. If you guys like betting on NASCAR, we put out an article and a video on every Friday before the race. So make sure you go to our website, buttfumblesports.com. If you go to our website, you hit the blogs, buttfumblesports.com. Right now, up there are our MLB DFS lineup, as well as our MLB game picks and our NBA game picks. But I will post our NASCAR pick tomorrow morning. So make sure you go to our website, buttfumblesports.com, or just go to our TikTok account or YouTube account, and that video will be posted tomorrow. So for all those who like NASCAR, we do not have an Indy 500 pick, and that is because our handicapper actually has connections to the Indy 500, to Indy racing. So actually, he can't give a pick for that because it's a little too inside baseball, and we don't want any issues. So we do not have an Indy pick. No Indy pick for you, the Indy 500. We don't have any action on it. Appreciate all of those joining us. Make sure you hit that follow button. Every time we hit 2,000 likes, we'll give out another pick. Every time we hit another 2,000 like benchmark, we'll give out another pick. Here are the picks we've given out so far up on the board. We're going to do some more research to help you guys out with your picks. Top Dog, so great to see you. Anthony, don't worry, by the way. Anthony watching on YouTube, I'll get to your question in just 1 second. But first, Top Dog is asking about Marcus Smart under 6 points in the first half. Under 6 points in the first half. Well, if you guys know anything about me, I don't really like taking bets on halves or first half, second half. It's not what my angle is. And the reason I say that is because the data around those kinds of plays, it isn't as easy to find, and it isn't as convincing in what kind of trends it shows. So I'm willing to look at Marcus Smart. We don't have first half points up here on Outlier. What we have is first quarter, and we also have overall points. I'll look at overall points. It is 12.5. The under, the implied probability on the under is at 53%, which is slightly stronger. Just looking at how his point total has been, consistently under 11 or under. So if you just split it in half, you can look at it that way. But Top Dog, we don't do our picks based off of the first half. It's just not something I like to do. It kind of goes along with runs in the first inning for baseball. I know a lot of you guys like to do that, but the data behind it really is hard to find. And by the way, when you find it, it's not very convincing. It is kind of like saying the roll of the dice yesterday should have some impact on the roll of the dice today. I really don't like that. Marcus Smart, will he come out shooting well, or will he come out as a facilitator? My instinct says Marcus Smart's going to play more like he did in Game 1, where he's going to try to pass the ball more, get Jaylen Brown engaged, get Jason Tatum involved, find Al Horford. My expectation, my personal expectation, again, this is not what you should be tailing. My personal expectation is Marcus Smart is going to really play the role of point guard tonight. that he's going to look to find the shooters on the perimeter, knowing that if he can get Brown, Tatum, and Horford all into double figures early in the game, the likelihood of the Celtics winning goes way up. I think Marcus Smart, if he becomes a shooter in this game, first of all, the more Marcus Smart shoots, the more I like the Miami Heat. And second of all, I think Marcus Smart, especially with no Gabe Vincent, is aware that he will be able to maybe drive into the paint a little bit more, collapse that Heat defense. So I like Marcus Smart's on assists. I wouldn't touch the points, whether it's first half or overall. Marcus Smart on points, I actually think is a very risky bet tonight. One, because of Gabe Vincent's injury, and two, because of how the Celtics need to play versus Marcus Smart's instincts. I think his instincts are sometimes to shoot. I'd much prefer to see him as a facilitator. Drew, 7382, so great to see you. Great seeing so many loyal, dedicated followers in the chat. It's wonderful to see how this show just grows in loyalty. If you guys want me to give out any more of my picks, make sure you help us out with our live goal. Our live goal is that confetti. Really like it. Alexander, I don't like to be propositioned. Don't I know it? But my life is nothing but being propositioned at this point. David on YouTube. Before we get to David's question, I want to make sure I ask about the Cubs -1.5. Cubs -1.5. Okay. Anthony is asking about the Cubs -1.5. Let's take a look at that game. We go over to games in our Outlier app. We go over to the Cubs game. Cubs Mets, first pitch is at 7:40 tonight. We're looking at that from a Cubs -1.5 run line standpoint. Interesting that Anthony is looking at Cubs -1.5. Interesting in that it has not been the strongest play for the Cubs over the last 5-10 games. But that said, the Mets, it's been a stronger play, actually. The Mets have kind of struggled at times. When the Mets have been losing, they have been losing by multiple runs. Very interesting. So looking at the Cubs -1.5. Let's go look at the starting pitchers for this game. By the way, we're going to get to your questions. One Big Deal 22. We'll get to the questions. And Drew, we are live up until 1 p.m. today, so we still have an hour and 15 minutes left of our show. Answering the question for Anthony on YouTube, how do we feel about the starting pitchers in this game? Well, if I just look at the Mets, Carlos Carrasco has had a really bad start to his 2023, really high ERA, even a small sample size. He's giving up a lot of runs. So I switch it over. Cubs, Kyle Hendricks, don't know what I'm getting from him. Obviously, if I look in his past, there's reason to be hopeful, but he's making a debut today. I was unaware of that, actually. I was unaware that he was making a debut today. I want to go to covers.com really quick to confirm that. Yeah, Kyle Hendricks making his debut today. All of a sudden, that's a -115 on the Cubs. Yeah, interesting. That's interesting. I was unaware that Kyle Hendricks was on the bump for this game. So just an interesting note. The lack of information from him makes me a little hesitant, especially if you're taking them on the run line. Just not a lot of information. Don't know how he's going to perform in his first start of the year. Let's look at how the Mets lineup has done first against right-handed pitching. Against right-handed pitching so far this year. No hitters above 300. Interesting. Not one Cubs hitter is above 300 against right-handed pitching. Now, lifetime against Kyle Hendricks. Here are some interesting stats. David Vogelbach, he's crushing it against them. Starling Marte, not surprising, two guys who used to be in the NL Central both hit him well. And Jeff McNeil, the 1-for-3, that includes a home run. Interesting. Tommy Pham. Man, the Mets hitters have good numbers against him. Tommy Pham, Escobar, 273 isn't bad, especially in a sample size of 11 at-bats. I don't like this. I don't like seeing that the Mets hitters have such good numbers against him. Flipping it over. Against Carlos Carrasco, you have a couple hitters who have good averages, but smaller sample sizes. No one with 7 at-bats or more with that plus 300 average. So for me, I wouldn't touch the run line in this game. Between Kyle Hendricks coming back, not quite sure how he's going to perform, numbers against him pretty good in the Mets lineup, I would avoid that game. So Anthony, I understood why you took the Cubs -1.5, kind of a sneaky play with Kyle Hendricks coming back, but I don't like it given our research. Caesar, for all of those, much like Caesar, if you've missed any part of the show, you can always catch it on YouTube. We post the show after we go live every day. So if you missed any part of the show early on, you can always find it on YouTube. Recap some of the picks we've given out, some of the analysis we've talked about. So we've already covered Gabe Vincent a little bit. We talked about Robert Williams over points, Al Horford over assists, Grant Williams over assists, and Derek White on three-point shooting. If you guys want to check out any of our analysis, you can find that on YouTube. We will post the show after it's finished being live, and that way you can double back, check out all of our research and our analysis, and hear our comments on all of these questions. Appreciate all of those joining us. Another question we're getting in from YouTube is from Dante. Marlins, Colorado, over 11. And by the way, David, the only reason I'm not answering your question is I've already referred to, I really don't like looking at first half points. It isn't a source of, I don't have a good source of information on first half points for NBA games. And it's also one that, even if I had it, I wouldn't think of it as very reliable. So if that's something you want to put your money on, go for it. I'm not going to endorse that kind of play. There are certain bets that I won't go into because I don't want to give you guys bad information. The whole point of Butt Fumble Sports is to inform you guys, try to make you guys smarter so you can make the best bets possible. If I'm unable to do that, I'm not going to try and force something on you or reach out of my butt fumble and try and hand you something that's a turd. So for that reason, if I don't have the data, I'm just going to skip on it. So forgive me, David, but I'd rather give you no information than wrong information. Dante, you're asking about Marlins, Colorado Rockies over 11 runs. So at this point, you would think that this is a very consistent play. The run total for that has been consistently over. And one thing we love about this game, the likelihood of runs in this game is monumentally high. So the answer is yes, I would take the over simply based on the weather alone. We're going to get into this game really heavy over the course of the next hour and 15 minutes. But this Miami Marlins, Colorado Rockies game, this is a game to hammer. If you're playing DFS, start guys that are in these lineups. Stack them heavy. This is a game where you want home run hitters. We're going to look at a couple of our long shots of the day will come from this game. I think this, of any of the games today, to look for offense, bet on hitters, all of it, this is the game. Marlins, Rockies, so you're hitting it right. The 11 has me a little scared just because of how high it is. I still think it'll probably hit, but I think there's probably a better opportunity on an alternative line. This game is starting again, it's a day game in Colorado, in Denver. So if I go to the over 11 and look at the alternative lines on this one, I think there are probably some alternative lines we're taking. So over 10 is at minus 150. Over 9.5 is at minus 160. Those are two bets that I really like. You can see it up on the screen. Over 9.5 at minus 165. That's a bet worth making. I get the hook in my favor if I like the 10 runs. I feel good about the 9.5, given where the weather is going to be for this game. We'll also get into the starting pitchers in just a second. But I'm going to take this. I'm going to put it up on the board. Over 9.5 at minus 165. So this is an in-show research bet. So for all those new to the show, we put an asterisk next to it if it's a bet we make because of research we did during our show. A bullet point means it's research I did either last night or this morning that informs our pick. This one, we are going with Marlins, Rockies, and again, I'm taking the alternative line over 9.5 at minus 165. Minus 165, I think that's a steal. I think that's a really strong play. So for the question out there, Dante, I do like the over 11. It's not what I would put up on the big board. I certainly would rather take it at a slightly lesser number. And if I can get it at the minus 165, really like that play. But then again, I might also double down on this. Just like I did for the over in that Heat Celtics game, I'm also really interested. If I like it at over 11, I like it at over 10.5. So if you like it at over 11, Dante, you may want to take it at multiple points. First of all, that way if your over 11 doesn't hit, there's still some places you could cash on it. But if it does hit over 11, you're cashing 3 tickets, all at decent money. So I actually like that play. Zozo and Evan, I actually do as well. Yeah, I do like to lay a lot on juice. Sometimes, look, I'd rather cash tickets than chase plus odds. I actually think sometimes taking a bet at minus 190 isn't a bad play. So I actually like adding the alternative lines into my plays. I don't mind that. I'd rather cash tickets. As long as I'm cashing tickets, I don't mind it. Now, obviously, once you get to like a minus 250, that's probably where I lose interest unless I'm making it a leg and a parlay. But for a number of reasons, the idea to cash tickets, if I can cash tickets at a positive rate, I really like that. We have hit 6,000 likes for our show, so we have more picks to give out. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button. Every time we hit 2,000 likes, we give out more picks. We've hit 6,000 likes, so we're going to give out 2 more picks today. 2 more picks are about to come up on our big board, so make sure you guys are paying attention. We are going to go with, let's go to some NBA player prop bets now. Let's go to some NBA player prop bets. And the first one we're going to give out, this has been such a consistent play for us. It did not hit in the last game. It had been one of the most consistent tickets that we've had throughout the last 2 weeks, but it did not hit in Game 4. It doesn't mean we run away from it. It actually means that maybe the trend suggests it's a good play today. So for that reason, I am going to go back to a play that if you guys watch our show, you know I'm very big on, and that is I'm going to go with Jimmy Butler. You guys know what it's going to be. Over 1.5 steals. Over 1.5 steals. He only had one last game, but he has consistently been hitting this. So I'm going to go back to it. I'm going to say that Game 4 was a bit of an outlier, was a bit of an aberration. I'm going to say Jimmy Butler over 1.5 steals is going to be a solid play once again. I'm getting that at minus 149. Minus 149. Once again, the reason I really like this play, Butler has gone over 1.5 steals in 7 of his last 8 games as an underdog. Really interested about that. So that is our first pick that we're giving out because we just hit 6,000 likes. By the way, speaking of likes, for those watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button. You only need to do it once, but it goes a long way in supporting the channel and supporting Butt Fumble Sports. So if you are watching on YouTube, we're so grateful for you watching, but it would go a long way if you could hit that like button on the video. So appreciate those watching on YouTube. Hopefully you guys can help us out. IP Shade 45, we actually did go into our conspiracy theory around the ref a little bit earlier. So we will double back on that because you asked. But our conspiracy theory on the referee tonight, is Mark Davis. When Mark Davis has been on the whistle, the Miami Heat are 2-1 with an 8.3 point differential. Now, I talked about this earlier. I'm not crazy about taking the Celtics on the money line. I put it up on the board and even took it off because I really don't have enough confidence in it. I think it's probably going to happen, but the fact that I'm saying it's probably going to happen reflects my lack of conviction behind that play. So I'm not touching the Celtics on the money line. I suspect that's going to happen, but I'm not endorsing it. What I do like is the Heat to cover. So with Mark Davis, when the Heat have had Mark Davis on the call, they have a plus 8.3 point differential. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Celtics minus 2.6 point differential, and they're 3-4 in the games he calls. So not a Scott Foster conspiracy theory play like we had in Game 4, IP Shade 45. By the way, if the Celtics win and this game goes back to Miami, if Scott Foster's on that game, we will 100% be on the Celtics. But for tonight, my NBA referee conspiracy theory of the night play of the day would be on the Heat to cover. So I actually threw that up on our big board a little bit earlier. I do like the Heat to cover at +8, and I'm doubling down on it. You're going to see me do this a little bit more. I did it yesterday with the Diamondbacks and the referees, doubling down on bets where I like it at one price, so I'll double down if I get it at an even better, at another price that's a little bit more. So Heat +8, I like at -105. I like the Heat at +10.5 at -150 as well. Appreciate all of you guys joining us. Want to get to Top Dog's question. Top Dog, you were asking about Alek Manoah under 5.5 strikeouts. So Top Dog on YouTube is asking about Alek Manoah. So let's go over to Alek Manoah, and you're asking about under 5.5 strikeouts. By the way, appreciate those watching on YouTube who just hit that like button. Really appreciate that support. So we're going to go to Alek Manoah, and we're looking at his strikeout total. And you were asking about the under 5.5. Well, first of all, strong implied probability here. By the way, one big deal 22. I'm going to get to your question as well right after because you've been a very patient person. So appreciate that. Forgive me for being a bit slow on that. We'll get to over 4.5 strikeouts for Braxton Garrett in 1 second, one big deal 22. But to the question Top Dog had about Alek Manoah, strong implied probability here. Really strong implied probability. And you have to see 80% of the last 5 games, 9 of the last 10 games. He hasn't been hitting this. Alek Manoah has been struggling this year. This is what he's done. This is his entire season so far. He's made 10 starts. He's only hit the over once. This is one you gotta like. Appreciate you, one big deal 22. So you just gotta look. He has not been hitting this. So immediately, Top Dog, I like the play. We're gonna double down on it and look into it a little bit more. Looking at him on the road, the unders hit every time. So the one time he went over 5.5 strikeouts this year, it was at home. But on the road, he's yet to get to 6 strikeouts. If I now move over to just his numbers overall, man, look at how he did against the Rays in that one start. Really poorly. I know that came, I believe it was in Toronto, but a really ugly game. And now we look at how Tampa Bay hitters have done against Manoah in their careers. First of all, let's put some respect on Harold Ramirez right now. Harold Ramirez has really good numbers against him. That 600 batting average. Lau, not bad, or Josh Lowe, not bad. The 3 RBIs. The numbers aren't actually as good as I expected them to be, given that they crushed him in that previous start. Harold Ramirez and Raley may be 2 guys to keep your eye on, though, as well as Lau. Those may be 3 guys we like for a player prop bet. Again, Alek Manoah has just not been the same kind of pitcher this year. The Blue Jays expected him to be a top-of-the-line stud. He hasn't been so far. One thing that has me a little bit worried, Top Dog, I'm now looking at how Alek Manoah has done against the Rays in Tampa Bay, and he has hit the over in 3 of the last 4 starts against them. If I expand the sample size, I can't. But that said, the only reason that this isn't going to scare me is because this reflects an Alek Manoah who's been pitching much better. I mean, these go back to 2022 and 2021. So for that reason, I'm going to go with you, and I like Alek Manoah under 5.5 strikeouts. Appreciate all of those joining us. We're not going to throw that one up on the big board, but we do like that one. Top Dog, Alek Manoah, under 5.5 strikeouts. Let's get to one big deal 22's question about Braxton Garrett. Braxton Garrett and strikeout total for Braxton Garrett. And again, that is in that Marlins game. So you are asking about over 4.5 strikeouts. The implied probability suggests the under is the stronger play. So the first thing we see, one big deal 22, is that the under is the stronger play. You were asking about the over, so we'll look at it from that perspective. Interesting. That's hit in 3 straight starts. 3 straight starts he's gone over 4.5. There is a part of me that is looking at who he's done it against, though. Giants, Reds, Diamondbacks. I know he's facing a Rockies team today that isn't as impressive. Last time he faced the Rockies was last June. He did get 7 strikeouts. His last 2 starts, though, were both in Miami against them, so you wonder how he's going to fare in Colorado. I think, by the way, why the implied probability is probably where it is. One big deal 22 is because the game is in Colorado. Given the expectation of overall runs, I know the trend suggests the over is going to hit. I'm not crazy about it. Let's jump over. Let's see his stats this year. He does have a 9.21 Ks per 9. That's pretty solid. The ERA is pretty high, and only probably going to get higher today. Let's see how the Rockies have done against him. Oh, interesting. A couple of Rocky hitters have hit him pretty well. Charlie Blackmon, who actually we have as one of our player prop bets we'll give out a little bit later rather. Diaz, decent numbers. Not big sample sizes, but one big deal 22. I feel like this is a bit of a trap. I feel like the trend is saying it's a good play because he's hit 3 games in a row. But in reality, I'm really hesitant about this one simply because, again, it's in Colorado. And given the expectation of offense, again, we go back to our ballparkpal.com, and the expectation is there's going to be a ton of offense in this game. So I think one big deal 22, I think I lean slightly towards the over by a tick, but I certainly don't have confidence. I could see him getting 5 strikeouts in, let's say, 5 innings, but I also think he's going to give up runs. So the question is, does he get enough strikeouts for the outs, given that he'll probably only be out there for, let's say, 15 total outs? So I'm not really crazy about it. Probably one I would avoid. If you ask me about it, like gun to head, I'd probably say take the over just slightly, but certainly not one I put up on my big board, and probably one that I would skip all the way around. Drew, I'm going to get to your question in just 1 second, but first I want to get back to Caesar on YouTube. Caesar, do I like Cincy hitters more or St. Louis hitters more? I was thinking about TJ Friedel, 2+ total bases at plus 105. Well, first of all, let's go into that game. Let's go into that game a little bit because I want to break it down. By the way, we've just hit 1 hour on our show. We have now been live for 1 hour. So appreciate all of those joining us. Just to reset and throw up our picks so all of you guys can see our picks 1 hour into our show. We will give out a lot more picks as well as our long ball, long shots of the day. We have hit 9,000 likes, so I owe you guys 2 more picks. I'll give out 2 more picks once we do our research for Caesar about that Cardinals-Reds game. But here are our picks so far. We've got a ton more picks to give out. We are just 1 hour into our 2-hour show, so make sure you settle in. A lot more research to go. Every time we hit 2,000 likes, we give out a pick. Every time you hook us up with some confetti and help us out with our live goal, we will give out a pick. We will give out 2 more in just 1 second, but we're going to complete our research for Caesar about that Reds Cardinals game. I'm actually going to go to the player prop bets for it. Now that game is going off. Has that game started already? That game is just about to get underway in about 30 minutes. So that game is getting underway in 30 minutes. So it puts up on the outlier that it's at 12. But that game is at 12:35. So for all of those who want to bet this game, make sure you're paying attention. We're going to focus in on this game really big right now. IP Shade 45 just hooked with... Brandon, you're saying Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado are both out of that game? Can we confirm that? Can we confirm that? Goldie and Nolan Arenado both out for that game. I want to go check. I'm actually going over to check it on my DFS lineup. I'm seeing if that, yep, Nolan Arenado, he's out. Nolan Arenado not in that game. So everybody be very cognizant. Nolan Arenado not in. Goldie not in. I'm glad you said something. Nolan Arenado is going to be one of our long ball, long shots of the day. No longer. So for those who are curious, my DFS lineup, we put our DFS lineup out there on our website, buttfumblesports.com. If you want to see our lineup right now, it's out there, but it does have Nolan Arenado in it. So for that reason, I'm going to switch up my pick for who I want starting in that game, and I would put Nolan Gorman as my starter at third base. He's batting second in that game. I still like offense in this game. So even without Goldschmidt or Arenado in the lineup, I still like it. Appreciate, by the way, all of you guys getting in the chat and making sure we're aware of what those updates are. Really, really helpful for us. Really helpful. Okay, so for this game, one of the things we were being asked about, by the way, I actually just put him in my lineup. I'm going to add him to my big board right now. Nolan Gorman, look at the implied probability on just a hit. On just a hit. Look at how consistent it's been as a play. Over a hit has been super consistent. He's hitting second in today's lineup. You can see he's got a fantastic hitting streak going. Given that he's going to be hitting second in a lineup with a ton of offense still expected, even without the depth behind him, I still like this play. By the way, Gorman this season against right-handed pitching, a .299 average, good numbers. Luke Weaver is on the bump for the Reds. Weaver, look at his numbers. Yuck. Yuck. So I'm actually going to throw this one up on the board. Another pick we're going to give out for this one. This is going to be Nolan Gorman. Nolan Gorman. This is an in-show research play, so we're going to put an asterisk next to it. It's going to be Nolan Gorman over half a hit. We're getting that at minus 210, I believe. Was it minus 210? Again, this is a parlay leg play, 218. This is not one I would put out as an individual bet. This is definitely a parlay. Do I like him at 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs? Yes, I do. IP Shade 45. Yes, I do. Nolan Gorman, that's another one. Nolan Gorman, that's a player I really like today. Absolutely, I would throw him in there as well. By the way, I'm also seeing that Brandon Donovan is now in that number 3 spot. Brandon Donovan for the Cardinals is going to be in that 3 spot. I might like to double down on some of these guys. Without Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt in the lineup, it's going to mean Nolan Gorman and Brandon Donovan are going to be in better positions to get hits, runs, and RBIs. That may be advantageous for us today. So for all of those who are scrambling a little bit with your DFS lineup, as we learn about who's available or who's not in our DFS lineups, make sure you're also making these kind of course corrections. 2 guys you may want to consider. So with that said, let's go over hits, runs, and RBIs, minus 1.5. I'm going to throw it up on the board. I'm going to double down on Nolan Gorman today. Nolan Gorman over 1.5 hits, plus runs, plus RBIs. The real reason I'm taking this, I know that this hasn't been as strong a play with the trend. If we look at it on the trend line, not as strong a play. Oops. But that said, without Goldschmidt and Arenado in the lineup, it actually makes it more likely that he's going to be in an offensively positive position. So with that said, that's the play I like. I do like Nolan Gorman over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. I really like the over hit. I think he's going to be driven in. Now, let's jump over really quick and look at Donovan. By the way, don't worry. I'm going to get to your question. Was it Caesar? Yeah, Caesar. Don't worry. I'm going to get to your question just a bit. I'm just going to answer a few more of these questions about this game. We're really dialed in on this game right now. Okay. Over 1 hit for Brandon Donovan. Not as strong a play. Not as consistent. Not as big on it. Let's look at 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. That's a better play. 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. That's hit in 3 of the last 4 games. 2 of the 3 games in this series. Again, I like the matchup. I'm going to go with throw this one up on the board as well. And I'm going to take, by the way, I like that these guys are hitting 2-3. So I like the idea that I could get Nolan Gorman to get a hit, him to get to be driven in, and that Brandon Donovan to do it. Brandon Donovan over 1.5 hits, plus runs, plus RBIs. So giving out a ton of picks around this game. Appreciate all of those who are watching. Make sure you're hitting that follow button. If you're watching right now on TikTok or on YouTube, make sure you're hitting that follow button. Now, the question that we got in from YouTube by Caesar was about TJ Friedel, or however you pronounce it. And you were asking TJ about 2 total bases. 2 total bases. So we're diving into that right now. 2 total bases. Oops. So over 1.5 doesn't have the strong implied probability here. The under's the stronger play. Hasn't been consistent. Hasn't been a consistent play. Looking at how he's done against Miles Michaelis. Okay. 2 for 4, including a home run. That gives us some optimism. How has he done against right-handed pitching? 315 average. Okay. I kind of like this play now. I like it. I'm not going to throw it up on the board, but the answer is over 1.5 total bases. Not a bad play given how he's hit against right-handed pitching and how he's hit against Michaelis. So that said, no, I'm not going to throw it up on our big board, but not a terrible play, Caesar. Not a terrible play. Top Dog on YouTube's asking about Zach Eflin. Don't worry, for all those asking questions on TikTok, we will get to that in just 1 second. Top Dog, you're asking about Zach Eflin over 5.5 strikeouts. Let's dive into it. So we're going to go to strikeouts, we are going to go to Zach Eflin. Oh, that's why. Zach Eflin. So to the question that we're getting on YouTube, they were asking about over 5.5. What we like is the implied probability is strong at over 4.5. Again, for the question on YouTube, you don't want the over 5, you want the over 4.5. You want that hook in your favor. You don't want the push if he sits at 5. So that said, let's look at how he's done. Very consistent. Very consistent. He's had at least 4 strikeouts in 8 straight games. I know we're talking about 4.5, but I like the fact that even when he's hit the low, he's just missed it. Now let's look at how his stats are overall this season. Really strong win-loss record, but not surprising being a starting pitcher for the Tampa Bay Rays. I like that the ERA where it is, and the strikeouts per 9 just under 10, which is a really good sign for you if you think he's going to make a 5-inning start, 6-inning start. So that said, let's look at how the Blue Jays have done against him lifetime. Not good numbers. Wow, really interesting here. Only 1 hitter in this lineup has a hit against him. Now, this is a really small sample size, so I'm not going to go crazy about that, but that's certainly enough to give me some confidence. I'm going to play this one. I like it. I'm going to throw this one up on our board. We are going to take Zach Eflin. So to answer the question for Top Dog, I am going to throw this up on my board, but I'm throwing it up at the 4.5. So we're going to take this play. We are going to throw up, by the way, what was Brandon Donovan, 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs? I missed on that. We'll double back on that in 1 second. I forgot to throw the odds in there. Zach Eflin over 4.5 strikeouts. And I'm getting that, what was it, minus 155 here? Yeah, minus 155. So another pick we're giving out is Zach Eflin over 4.5 strikeouts at minus 155. IP Shave 45, some good stats. Bo Bichette, 0 for 4 lifetime with 2 strikeouts. Vlad Guerrero, 0 for 4 in his few at-bats against him. Yeah, the Blue Jays limited numbers, but even those numbers aren't very good. So I do like the idea of taking Zach Eflin over 4.5 strikeouts. Really quick, I'm just going to look in Brandon Donovan. I'm going to do this on my side computer. Brandon Donovan, I want to get his stats really quick. We're just missing his odds. User 8012, we will get to your question about the Rays in just 1 second. 1 second. Brandon, oh, it's Brendan Donovan. I'm spelling his name wrong. So it's Brendan. By the way, who spells Brendan B-R-E-N? Okay. I don't need to dump on the guy's name. Anyways, we're looking at over the 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs, or was it? Yeah, over 1.5 hits, runs, minus 135. Minus 135 on that one. Okay, so here are the picks we put up on our board so far. We actually have hit 10,000 likes. You guys have been amazing today, helping us out. So we have hit 10,000 likes. We have more picks to give out, so let's get to them. I'm going to give out one of my favorite long ball, long shots of the day right now. It is going to be Anthony Rizzo. Anthony Rizzo to hit a home run today. We really like this one. Oops. Anthony Rizzo to hit a home run today. We are taking that action at plus 625. I couldn't believe when I saw this. Plus 625 for Anthony Rizzo to hit a home run today. Here's the reason I like this play so much today. So Anthony Rizzo is facing Kyle Gibson. The starting pitcher for the Orioles is Kyle Gibson. Rizzo has only 2 at-bats against him lifetime. Very small sample size, only 2 at-bats. But in those 2 at-bats, 2 hits, 1 home run. So he actually has 3 plate appearances all time. He has 1 home run, 1 single, and 1 walk. So Anthony Rizzo lifetime has a perfect 1,000 batting average against Kyle Gibson. But also, I like the fact that I'm getting the righty-lefty matchup. I know the weather for this game isn't working in my favor. But if anything, I like that the wind is blowing to right field. I know it's a tick in, but I'd rather have the wind at Yankee Stadium blowing in towards right if I'm going to take that righty-lefty matchup. So once again, a pick we just gave out is Anthony Rizzo plus 625 to hit a home run today. He is our first long ball, long shot of the day. We have 2 more picks to give out, actually. We have 2 more picks to give out, and then I'm going to answer user 8012's question about Rays on the money line and the over 8 runs. For all those watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button just once, but really appreciate the support on YouTube. Make sure you hit the like button. Just do it once, though. It goes a long way in supporting our channel. For those watching on TikTok, you can hit the like button as many times as you can. Because we've hit over 10,000 likes, I have more picks to give out. Here's the next pick I'm going to give out, and it's going to be a player prop bet, and it will be around the Celtics game tonight. And Gabe Vincent has an injury. We talked about that a little earlier. An injury we haven't referenced yet in the show is Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon has an elbow injury. There is something wrong with his elbow tendon. So that said, Malcolm Brogdon, one of the reasons he's been struggling, I'm not going to take his shooting. Definitely explains why he's been struggling from 3, but that's not what I'm going to take. What I'm going to take is Malcolm Brogdon over, and I'm taking this at over half a turnover. Over half a turnover for Malcolm Brogdon. I'm taking it at minus 195. Again, because of those odds, might be a good play for you guys to include in a parlay as one of the legs. May not be something you want to bet individually, but that said, really like this play. Really like this play, and let me explain why. The reason I like Malcolm Brogdon over half a turnover, Brogdon has at least 1 turnover in 7 straight games against the Miami Heat. So not just in this series alone, but 7 straight games against the Miami Heat, Malcolm Brogdon has a turnover. I think he's going to have one tonight. I'm going to double down on Malcolm Brogdon right now. I talked about it a moment ago. I'm also going to take him under his point total. Malcolm Brogdon under, and we're getting it under 10.5 points. Between the elbow injury and he's failed to hit under this in his last 2 games. I think the injury is impacting his scoring. I'm going to take the under 10.5 points, and I'm going to believe that his injury is impacting his scoring. User 8012, thank you so much for hooking us up with the mini speaker, with the sneaker head. Appreciate all of that. Let's get to your question. Let's answer your question because you're hooking us up with those gifts. Your question is about Rays on the money line and the over in that game. Let's go jump over into it. So we're going to look at this game, Rays on the money line perspective. Head to head, very tight. 52% of the time the Rays have won, but that's pretty tight given how close this series has been over the last few years. Interesting. Line movement shifted over time. Are we seeing anything favorable? Really shifted towards the Rays. It's really shifted towards the Rays. So if anything else, if you do like the Rays, get it now because it continues to shift. Make sure you guys can see it. This is the line movement over the last few hours. It got as high as minus 172 on the Rays. It's shifted down a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if that continues to climb. Alek Manoah on the bump for the Blue Jays. He is really struggling. He's really struggling. Not just against Tampa Bay in that one start, but a 5.15 ERA for him. That's not his kind of pitching. He is supposed to be a top-of-the-line rotation starter, and he is not right now. Meanwhile, on the other side, Zach Eflin's pitching really well. So if you're only as good as your starting pitcher, I'd be concerned if I am the Toronto Blue Jays today. Again, just looking at the 2 lineups and how they do against these 2 starting pitchers. I know we looked at this a second ago, but we'll double back on it. How have the Blue Jays done against Eflin? Really nothing. Other than Biggio, no one has a hit. On the other side, how have the Rays done against Manoah? They have a couple hitters who have hit him well. Ramirez, Lowe, and Raley. So a couple guys who have hit him pretty well. For that reason, as well as what we're seeing just about the pitching matchup overall, I would take Rays on the money line. I'm willing to throw that up on my board, actually. Let's take Rays on the money line. Now, as for the total, that one we're going to have to investigate a little bit more, but let's see. So I'm taking this at minus 163. So if you like the Rays on the money line, get them now because those odds are going to continue to shift. So if you do like the Rays, get them while you can at minus 163. I could see that jumping back up to minus 170, minus 175. Now we're going to look at the over in that game, looking at the over-under in the Blue Jays-Rays game. It's set at 8 runs. So, interestingly enough, if we just set the total at 8, this has been a really consistent play. By the way, Jose Siri isn't playing today. He was in my DFS lineup. He actually is not playing today. So, Jorge, do not play Jose Siri. I believe Jose Siri is sitting today. Do not play him. Do not play him. So in this one, interesting, if the over had been set consistently as the total, it would have been cashing in 5 of the last 6 games for the Blue Jays. Same could be said about the Rays, actually. So these two offenses, those are head-to-head, of course. But even there, look at that. Really consistent on over 8 runs. These two teams have been scoring 8 runs consistently. I like the over. I like the over. Just based off of what I'm seeing here, I like the over in this one. By the way, we've talked about this a couple times today. If you like a certain place or a certain price, look at these alternative lines. If I like over 8 runs, I love over 7.5. If I like over 8, I love over 7.5. So I'm actually going to put this up on my big board. I'm going to take Blue Jays, Rays, over 7.5. It's an alternative line, but I'm getting that at minus 132. Minus 132. That's the kind of play I like. If I like it over 8, I'll take that hook in my favor, and I'll take it over 7.5. Over 7.5. Works for me. That way, if it gets to 8, I'm not in a push situation. And minus 132, those are good odds. Alek Manoah has struggled this year. Zach Eflin's pitched well, but I could still see the Blue Jays putting up a couple runs. So over 7.5, not going to hate on it. I'll throw it up on the board here. Appreciate all of those who are joining us. We have a ton of picks to give out, so make sure you're helping us out with our live goal. Let's get that confetti going. Let's get that live goal going. Once we get our live goal of confetti, we're going to give out a ton of picks right now. So make sure you're helping us out with our live goal. Hit that confetti. For every piece of confetti, we are about to give out a pick. I have a ton of NBA player prop bets. That's what I really want to get to. So let's get some confetti in the chat, and let's give out some picks. Okay, getting a question in from Drew. Marcus Smart over 9.5. There's IP Shade 45. So we are going to hold off on answering the question, and let's give out another pick. So the next pick we're going to give out, is going to be Jason Tatum over 9.5 rebounds. This is not a great play in terms of the odds. It is a great play in terms of consistency. So it's minus 209. It may be a good one to parlay. This is definitely a leg of a parlay for those who don't like the minus 209. But Tatum has had at least 10 rebounds in 4 of his last 5 games overall and 7 of his last 9 games. So this has been a really consistent play. Jason Tatum over 9.5 rebounds. He has been consistently getting that 10. I expect him to get a double-double. So if any of you guys like betting the double-doubles, that's definitely one. Jorge, yeah, IP Shade 45 just hit the confetti, so you can thank IP Shade 45 for delivering. I want to give out another pick. I will just say it's confetti in waiting. So I'm going to give out another pick right now, and that is going to be, I am going to go with, we talked about this a little bit earlier, I am going to take Marcus Smart over 5.5 assists. I mentioned earlier, I like this play for a number of reasons. I feel like he's going to be a facilitator tonight. Here's another reason, though. He has hit 6 assists in 3 of his last 4 games in this series. He only missed in Game 2. He only had 3 in Game 2. But other than that, this has been a consistent play in the series. Plus, Smart has 6 assists in 5 of his last 6 games against the Miami Heat. Again, the only game he missed was Game 2, where he didn't hit that total. So Marcus Smart over 5.5 assists seems to be a very consistent play. User 8012, you're asking about, I put before the game Jose Siri plus 1 bases. Will that be voided? I think it depends on the sports book. I think there is one sports book that actually, it should be voided, but I do think there's one sports book that kind of screws you. I don't know if it's FanDuel or DraftKings, but there is one of them that I don't necessarily think voids them automatically. So you might want to check on that. Appreciate all of those who are joining, all those who are following. Make sure you guys are supporting Butt Fumble Sports by hitting that follow button, whether you're on Instagram Live, TikTok Live, or on YouTube. Make sure you follow Butt Fumble Sports so you know every time we're live. We go live for every single day for 2 hours. Make sure you know every time we're live for our show by hitting that follow button. Getting to more of your questions before we give out more picks. Marcus Smart over 9.5 rebounds and assists at -135 at -130. You already know that I like the over 5.5 assists. I also, let's look at Marcus Smart rebounds and assists. So Marcus Smart rebounds and assists. So the implied probability is stronger on the over here. The implied probability drew 73.82. The implied probability stronger on the over. Good start for us. Very hot and cold. Very hot and cold though. Don't like this trend. Just way too inconsistent for me. Drew, don't like seeing that it's been so hit or miss. Yes, that would suggest that tonight's game he's going to hit the over, but I don't like doing that on-off. I do recognize it, but it's not necessarily something I'm crazy about. Now let's look at against the Heat, more consistent play. 4 out of the last 6 games it's hit against the Miami Heat. Now that includes going back obviously like November, but just an interesting trend. But the fact it's missed on 2 of the last 3 gives me a little hesitation. Funny enough, if I took this at an alternative line and I went down to 8, oh, it's not good at 8.5. Too bad. Too bad, because what I was going to say is if you took it at 8.5, maybe it'd be worth it, but it's not. It's a terrible odds there. So this is one you might have to just grit and bear it. I'm not about it. I would avoid it. But that said, I understand why you'd consider it. Given that no Gabe Vincent, I think that means it's going to be easier on Smart. I think what you're really worried about is the rebounds. I like him on assists, as you can tell from what I put up on my big board. But I'm not as crazy about him on the rebounds, especially since 1, I think Bam Adebayo is going to have a better game on rebounds. 2, I think Tatum's going to be good on the glass. Does Marcus Smart get to 4 rebounds? I think that's the big question. If you think he does, put money down on it. If you don't think he does, I think I might avoid it. Appreciate all of those who are with us. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you throw comments in the chat. We are here for all of your questions, all of your comments. Top Dog, Caesar, Dante, David, Anthony, Blease, Will, Mark, Tom, Bill. Happy to have all of you guys watching. Really excited about this day of sports. Make sure you throw your questions and comments in the chat if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on TikTok, you know I'm monitoring your questions right now. So if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. Definitely here for it. If you're watching on Instagram Live, you're getting our green screen view. If you want to see our picks right up on the screen, we're actually putting them up on the screen right now. If you want to see our picks, go over to our YouTube channel, Butt Fumble Sports on YouTube. That way you can see all of our picks, our research, and of course all of our videos. That way you don't miss any of our content. Okay, we have been live for 1 hour and 30 minutes. Amazing how fast the show has gone. Thank you guys so much for the support. Make sure you're hitting that follow button. Make sure you're following Butt Fumble Sports. G-Fewer19 is asking about Tim Anderson over 1.5 hits. Let's check it out. So we go to MLB. Let's go to Tim Anderson. Once we get loaded up, we go to Tim Anderson. And you were asking about total hits. So the under has the slight implied probability strength. I guess not too slight. It says 62%. Very interesting. He hasn't had over 2 hits. I mean, this is not a good play. Nope. So interestingly enough, G-Fewer19, I got burned by Tim Anderson yesterday. I took him at over 1.5 total bases. I didn't take the hits. I took the total bases. He didn't get 2 bases, but he did have a hit and a run. So if I had taken the over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, it would have cashed. But I took it on bases, and thus I missed. But I didn't take it on 2 hits. The one thing I'm seeing, he is not a 2-hit guy. It's just not a good play. Let's look at how he's done against the starting pitcher he'll be facing today. No information. Has not faced the starter he'll be facing today. Let's see how he's done against right-handed pitching this year. 221 average. Nope. G fewer 19, I wouldn't touch this bet. This is not a bet worth playing. The trends don't go in your favor. The stats don't go in your favor. He hasn't faced the pitcher before. This is not one to bet. I wouldn't touch this one. Don't like it. G fewer 19, I wouldn't touch Tim Anderson over 1.5 hits. Not a good play. Again, throwing my picks up on the board. If you guys want more of our picks, we have a ton of player prop bets still that we're sitting on. Hit us up with our live goal. If you give us the gift of that confetti, we will drop some picks on you, just like you drop confetti on me. Caesar, can we get a long ball, long shot of the day for the Miami Marlins Colorado Rockies game since it starts in just a few minutes? Yes, we can. Yes, I will. I'll just say that the next person who gives out confetti, this will be a thank you for that. So appreciate those. By the way, make sure you guys are also subscribing on TikTok. If you guys want me to stay live from 1 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. today, subscribe on TikTok. I will stay on for an extra half hour just exclusively for TikTok subscribers. So if you guys want personal questions answered or if you want more picks given out, make sure we get one subscriber. I just need one subscriber between now and the end of the show. If I get that, I will stay live for an extra half hour between 1 p.m. and 1:30 p.m. today. So that way those who want exclusive attention and get that special attention, they can. So if any of you guys want to give out that or hit up that subscriber button, I will stay live. IP Shade 45, I'm going to answer your question in 1 second. But before I do, Colton, thank you so much for the confetti. Because we got the confetti, I'm going to give out a pick. And the pick I'm going to give out is a long ball, long shot of the day. I'm really high on this one. Garrett Cooper. Garrett Cooper of the Miami Marlins. I'm getting him at plus 480. Plus 480. We are hammering home runs in this Rockies-Marlins game. We're hammering home runs in this game. Absolutely what we're focused on. So Garrett Cooper, he's going up against Kyle Freeland. That's a righty-lefty matchup I'm going to take every single day. Love that play. So again, for those who just joined, Garrett Cooper to hit a home run is our latest pick given out. It's one of our long ball, long shots of the day. Right now we're hitting at around 30% of those. We're a tick down because yesterday we went 0 for 7, so we're at about 28.5%, 29%. But that said, Garrett Cooper is our second long ball, long shot of the day pick at plus 480. Appreciate all of those who are joining us. IP Shade 45, do I like Kyle Gibson over 4.5 strikeouts? Let's check it out. By the way, we have also hit 12,000 likes, so I will give out another pick in just 1 second. But first, IP Shade 45 is nothing but the best, so I want to make sure I answer his question right now about Kyle Gibson. So Gibson and Kyle Gibson. So interesting, implied probability, the over is a tick higher. The over is a tick higher. Interesting. Like you said, he's hit it in his last 2 starts, but only straight at 5. He didn't exceed it by a wild amount. So it's not like a play that really gets me excited. It's not like he's hitting it at 7, 8 strikeouts per game. So a little bit of a hesitation here. Little bit of hesitation. By the way, here's another thing I don't like. Strikeouts per 9, he's only at 6.25. Not very high. Not very high. So IP Shade 45, I'm a little hesitant right here. I look at how the Yankees have done against Gibson. You have some guys who have well, that's not really a good indication. So Bowers has good numbers against him. Judge 1 for 4. Torres struggles, but like not a big sample size. And you got to think, Allen and Bowers actually have decent numbers against him. I wouldn't touch this one. I would not touch this one. I know that he's hit it in the last 2 games, but he only got to 5, so I think you're running a bit too much of a risk. IP Shade 45, it's not that I don't think he can hit it. It's that the trends, I don't have a high confidence level. I think it's more of a coin flip. Once we get to a coin flip situation, I wouldn't touch it. I'd avoid it. I wouldn't touch it. By the way, someone is asking what are my thoughts on that Yankee game, the over in the runs. I would lean towards the over. I do like the over in this game. Yeah, the trend is risky. The trend is risky, again, given that it's only 2 outings. I know, by the way, and the fact that the implied probability isn't that much higher tells me that even the algorithm's kind of like, yeah, not one I'm crazy about. Let's look at that game as a total, though. Let's look at that game as a total. So Yankees-Orioles, the total is set at 9 runs right now. Now, if you just look at how these two teams, the Orioles, if you just sit there over at 9 consistently, they're hitting consistently. Meanwhile, the Yankees, not as much. They have in the first 2 games of the series, but not as much. The thing that gives me some confidence is the 2 starting pitchers in this one. Kyle Gibson for the Orioles, and on the other side, Clark Schmidt, who hasn't just been battered this year, but against the Orioles and the one start he had against them, he got rocked. Now look at how the Oriole hitters have done against him. You see Adam Frazier, the 1-for-1 with an RBI. Gunnar Henderson, I have my eye on him. The numbers aren't impressive, but the stats are. I also like the fact that the over has been hitting consistently for the Orioles. Orioles are one of the better teams. Orioles are one of the best teams in baseball. Do not sleep on the Baltimore Orioles. That said, the 9 has me a little worried because the hook is against me. Part of me wants to take this at the 8.5, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take the 8.5 at minus 130. I'm going to throw that one up on our big board. I'll put this around the game pick so we can all see them together. I'm going to take Orioles, Yankees, over 8.5, and I'm getting it at minus 132, I believe. Is that what we got it at? Minus 132? Minus 130. Minus 130. So we throw that one up on the board as well. I do like the over in the Orioles-Yankees game as well. I have another pick for this game that I'm going to give out as a thank you guys for hitting that like button as many times as you have. We've hit 12,000 likes, so I will give out another pick for this game. This one, Yankee fans, turn away. For this one, I like the... Oh, this is supposed to be a pre-show research play. And on this one, I like the Orioles... plus 1.5. Orioles plus 1.5. So I like the Orioles to cover on the run line. I'm getting that at minus 175. They've got the better starting pitcher. They've been the hotter team of late. I like what their offense is doing. I like the Orioles to cover the 1.5 tonight. So for those who are watching, another pick we're giving out is the Orioles plus 1.5. Make sure you guys help us out with our live goal. Every time we give out confetti, we give out another pick. The next person who gives out the confetti, we will give out another pick for our long ball, long shots of the day. So if we get confetti, we will give out another long ball, long shot of the day pick. Chris, thank you so much for following us. If you're watching on TikTok, Instagram, or on YouTube, we really appreciate all those who follow us. It means the world to us. We have another pick to give out. We're going to give out... By the way, how about this? The next confetti we get, we're going to give out 2 long ball, long shots of the day picks. The next confetti we get, we're going to give out 2 home run picks of the day. So 2 long ball, long shots of the day. We are going to give out the moment we get some confetti. So I'm definitely teasing that one. I have 3 more long ball, long shots of the day to give out. We will give out 2 of them. We will give out 2 of them to the next person who gives us confetti. So that's the commitment we're making. If any of you guys hook us up with our live goal of confetti, we will give out 2 long ball, long shots of the day. We are sitting on it right now. IP Shade 45, like always, ultimate fan. You deliver once again. We're going to give out 2 long ball, long shots of the day. The next one I'm going to give out is in that Marlins-Rockies game, Jorge Soler. Jorge Soler has been raking of late, crushing in this series. He has multiple home runs in this series. He is on fire. Like him again today, going up against Kyle Freeland. Kyle Freeland, righty-lefty matchup in Coors Field against a guy who's raking. Love it. By the way, the implied probability on this, 31%. When you see 31% on a home run, I love it. I'm only getting it at plus 220, but I don't care. I like it at plus 220 no matter what. Jorge Soler to hit a home run is our 3rd long ball, long shot of the day play. But we have another one to give out because IP Shade 45 has been awesome and hooked us up with that gift that helped us out with our live goal, that confetti for our live goal. So we have another one to give out. And this one, I'm actually going to go back to that Yankees-Orioles game, and I'm going to go Gunnar Henderson. So as you guys know, is it with an A or is it with an E? I thought it was with an A. Yeah, it is. Okay, Gunnar Henderson. As you guys saw, not a huge sample size against Clark Schmidt, but he does have good numbers against him in the small size. I like Gunnar Henderson. Short porch to right field, left-handed hitter. Like this play today. Gunnar Henderson over a home run. The implied probability isn't that good at the 13, but I could get it at plus 700. I love it. Plus 700. And again, for these long ball, long shots of the day, here's how I would bet it from a unit standpoint. So if you guys need the advice on it, here's how I would bet it from a unit standpoint. If I'm getting the odds at plus 300, plus 350 or better, I'd put half a unit down. Because perfect example, at plus 700, if I put half a unit down on it, I'm still making really good money. However, for a bet that's like Soler at plus 220, you might want to put down a full unit, one full unit. So for something that's plus 350 or better, half a unit. For something that's plus 300 or less, probably want to put one unit down on it. That way you know the juice is worth the squeeze. Appreciate all. Player time. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Austin Riley, 42 at-bats, a 429 average, 3 home runs, and 6 RBIs. I don't know how we missed that one. We got to get that one. And look at Acuna. No, do not touch Phillies on the run line. This is a trap. This is a trap. There are a couple of these Brave hitters who crush him. Austin Riley, Ronald Acuna Jr. Let's get to our player prop bets right away. I'm adding those to the board. So the answer is no, I don't like the Phillies on the run line. That definitely feels like a trap, and do not take it. But now I am hustling over. Let's see Ronald Acuna Jr. What can we get? Ronald Acuna Jr. and Austin Riley have good numbers, have really good numbers against Aaron Nola. So look at this. Over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs for Acuna Jr. The implied probability, 62%. Wow. Love that play. Minus 160. Let's throw it up on the board. Love this play. This is a great in-show research play. Out of nowhere. Ronald Acuna Jr. over 1.5 hits, plus runs, plus RBIs. Where are we? minus 115. This has been a really consistent play, actually. Austin Riley over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. 6 out of the last 7. So not only does he rake against Aaron Nola, but this trend has been hitting really consistently. Let's throw this one up on the board as well. Austin Riley. Up. Austin Riley over 1.5 hits, plus runs, plus RBIs. Again, minus 115. He rakes against Aaron Nola. Again, in case you guys missed it just a second ago, and why I just went from 6 to midnight on these two plays, Austin Riley, since 2018, 42 at-bats against Nola, a 429 average, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs. Really strong. Let's just quickly look at the weather for that game. So interesting. Runs, not going to be impacted by the weather. Hits will be. Home runs is a tick down. But what has me thinking, I kind of want to take one of these guys, if not both, on a home run. So I'm going to throw the home runs up there on our long ball, long shots of the day. I know this is a risk play. But Austin Riley over a home run at plus 550, I'm going to tack it on. Let's see if we can get some magic out of these two. So plus 550 for Austin Riley. Again, in his career against Aaron Nola, he has 3 home runs. 3 home runs in 42 at-bats. Meanwhile, Ronald Acuna Jr. has 4 home runs against Aaron Nola. So let's go look up Ronald Acuna Jr. home runs. By the way, his implied probability on home runs is actually 19%. So Acuna Jr. is the stronger play here than Riley. Plus 420, take it. Ronald Acuna Jr. plus 420. I'm actually going to make these asterisk plays since we did an in-show. So that way you guys can distinguish. The picks I had loaded up before the show, Rizzo, Cooper, Soler, and Henderson. I actually have one more long ball, long shot of the day to give out. If any of you guys hook us up with another piece of confetti, I will give out my last long ball, long shot of the day. By the way, we are in the final 15 minutes of the show. If anyone subscribes on TikTok, if we get one more TikTok subscriber, I will stay live from 1 p.m. to 1:30 exclusively for subscribers on TikTok. So you won't be able to find it on YouTube. You won't be able to find it on Instagram. But if we get one more subscriber on TikTok, we will stay live from 1 p.m. to 1:30, and I will empty the bucket. I'm going to give out every pick that I have remaining on my sheet for the day, so we're not going to get to all of them in the final 15 minutes of the show, but if we get one subscriber on TikTok, not only will I stay live for an extra half hour and answer all of your questions, but I will also give out every pick that I have on my research page. So everything will come out. We just need one subscriber on TikTok. That'll push us over the top. Okay, user 8012, you're asking about the Miami Marlins on the alternative run line. Or sorry, on the alternative total line. So let's go to that MLB game. And let's look up the Marlins and the Rockies. So one of the things we talked about earlier in the show is we do like that game. We do like that game. Oh, I didn't throw it up on the board yet. Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did. We like it, but we like it at the alternative 9.5. We like it at the alternative 9.5. We looked at that earlier. Not consistently enough hitting on the over 11, but the 9.5, over 9.5 has been the much stronger play. So we do like it there. Over 9.5 on that alternative run line for that. Just again, throwing that up there. We do have that as one of our plays of the day. It was an in-show research bet. User 8012, you're asking about the Marlins on the money line. I kind of like that one, actually, because I really don't like Kyle Freeland. But I actually saw a stat that tells me I should like Kyle Freeland. There was a stat about Kyle Freeland. Twitter, straight up. I did see a stat earlier today in my Twitter feed that caught my eye. I'm forgetting it now, though. Forgetting who sent it. Yeah, sorry, I'm forgetting that play, but there was a great stat I saw that like Kyle Freeland at home after he has a terrible start is like 18-1 straight up. So Anyways, looking at the Marlins, Braxton Garrett, man, 4.61 ERA, the 1-2 record. On the other side, Kyle Freeland, 3.88 ERA. Yeah, I wouldn't take Marlins on the money line. I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch it. Nope. User 8012, I would not touch that Marlins money line play. Not a strong enough play for me. I do like the over 9.5 runs. Again, here are all of our picks so far. If we get a piece of confetti right now, we are going to give out our last long ball, long shot of the day. By the way, if we get any gifts, anything now, we are just going to give out picks right now. So make sure you're hitting that confetti and helping us out with our live goal. And as I mentioned a moment ago, we have just 10 minutes left of our show. We end our big show for everybody on Instagram Live, TikTok Live, and YouTube at 1 o'clock. But if anybody subscribes on TikTok, we will stay live for an extra half hour exclusively for subscribers. So 1 to 1:30, we will be exclusive for subscribers, giving out all of our picks, answering all of your questions. So if you guys want me to stay live for an extra half hour, just subscribe on TikTok Live, and we will stay live for the extra half hour. Getting a ton of gifts in right now from IP Shade 45, user 8012. Appreciate you guys helping us out. Of course, hook us up with that live goal. Goes a long way. We have more picks to give out. I'll give out my last long ball, long shot of the day. I have to check his odds, but for those who have been following the Chicago Cubs, there is one man who you should bet on almost religiously at this point, Christopher Morel. He has been on fire with his home runs, on fire hitting home runs. So for that reason, we're going to stay with him. We're going to say he's going to stay hot. I'm willing to put some money down on it. So our final long ball, long shot of the day play will be, this is a pre-show pick. So Christopher Morel, and we are getting him, I thought we got 525, plus 525. Love the play. So those are all of our long ball, long shots of the day up there on the screen right now. Those are all of the ones that we had both pre-show and the two that we've added mid-show. Those are all of our long ball, long shots of the day up there on the screen right now. Again, we're hitting at about a 28.5%, 29% clip on those. We were a little bit higher. We were above 300, above 30%, but yesterday we went 0 for 7. Hopefully we can cash in on 2 of these today and get above that 30% mark again. Appreciate all of those joining us. Appreciate all the support you guys have shown us. Here is another review of our big board so far. All the picks that we've given out so far today. Again, if any of you guys want additional picks, hit up that live goal. Help us out with that confetti. Appreciate all of you guys joining us. Here are the picks that we've given out so far. User 8012, you are asking about Kyle Freeland on strikeouts. So let's go check that out. Let's go to Kyle Freeland. We already answered that question about Braxton Garrett a little bit earlier. Kyle Freeland. By the way, if any of you missed any part of our show, make sure you go over to YouTube at 1 o'clock. We post the show right after we're finished going live. You can check out the entire show in case you missed anything. This has been a really strong play. I know it didn't hit last game, but it's been a really consistent play. Kyle Freeland over 2.5 strikeouts. Kyle Freeland over 2.5 strikeouts has been a really consistent play. I know there are some hitters in this lineup who hit him well, though. Gene Segura, Brian De La Cruz, Birdie, Gurriel. There's some hitters who hit him well. Little reason for hesitation, but I do like the over 2.5 strikeouts for Kyle Freeland. It's also been a really consistent play at home this year. Really consistent play at home. 5 out of the last 6. I'll throw it up on the big board as well. Just given that the trend is there, let's throw it up there. Kyle Freeland over 2.5 strikeouts. What are we taking it at? We're taking it at minus 167. Minus 167 is the play. So Kyle Freeland over 2.5 strikeouts. Just been a really consistent play over his last few starts, and specifically at home. So 5 of his 6 starts at home. He has 3 strikeouts. I really like that because Coors Field, you want to know how he's done there. He's obviously pitched there as the home starter, but he's hitting over 2.5 strikeouts. I like it. Only 5 minutes left of our show. If anyone wants me to stay live, we will do an exclusive show just for subscribers. If anyone subscribes in the next 5 minutes, if we get one more subscriber on TikTok, we will stay live for the extra half hour, give out all of our remaining picks, as well as answer all of the questions for the subscribers exclusively. Let me throw up the big board right now. Here's what we have up on the big board. I'm actually going to make it a little bit smaller on the font so you guys can all see it. If I don't say it enough, you guys are awesome. I love the support you guys show us. You are so helpful. You are so great. Appreciate you guys so much. I want to make sure you guys can see all of our picks up here on the big board. So let me slide it up just a tick. So here are all of our picks up on the big board, LRK425. Hope you can see them all. Here are all of our picks for today. Hope all of you have been enjoying the show. Last one's right there. So he +8 is the one at the very top. So we're kind of caught in between. Oh, I can just delete that space. Here we go. So here are all of our picks up on the board right now. From our NBA game picks to our NBA player props, MLB game picks, MLB player props, an NHL game pick in there, as well as our long ball long shots of the day. Again, if any of you want another half hour of the show exclusively for subscribers, we will go from 1 to 1:30. We just need one more person to subscribe on TikTok Live. IP Shade 45, thanks for hooking us up with more gifts. We'll give out more picks. We're going to give out more of our NBA player prop bets. I want to empty the bucket, so let's get to it. Let's add another one. Let's go to the NBA. And let's add... Okay, I'm going to go with Bam Adebayo over, and I'm taking it at over 16.5 points. Over 16.5. I'm getting that at -137, but I'm actually doubling down on this. I'm also taking it at over 15.5 points. Should be 16.5 points and 15.5 points. I'm taking both, and I'm taking the over 15.5. I'm taking that at -186. Here's the reasoning behind that play. So we just added another play. Here's the reasoning behind that play. So Bam Adebayo has 18 points, over 18 points in 3 straight road games and in 4 straight games against the Boston Celtics in the Garden. So I know Bam missed on this in his last game, but I do like Bam Adebayo over 16.5 points and over 15.5 points. This has been a very consistent play when the Heat play in Boston. So that's why we just added it to the big board. Let's see if we can get one more piece of confetti. I'll give out another pick. Let's see if we can get another confetti. Help us out with our live goal, and I'll give out another pick really quick. Let's get one more up there on the board. There are actually like 2 or 3 picks I want to give out. I know we're almost to the end of our show, so coming to the very end, but I want to give out some more. We haven't gotten a subscriber yet. If anyone subscribes on on TikTok, we will add another half hour of our show exclusively for subscribers. So if anybody subscribes, we will stay live and answer more of your questions just for subscribers. So if you want exclusive attention, that's how you get it. Make sure you subscribe on TikTok. That's how we do that. However, if we get any more confetti, almost to the end of the show, I will give out another pick. I have 2 more picks I really want to give out. I will admit that. How about this? Where are we with our likes? Where are we with our likes? Did we get to 20,000 likes today? I don't think so. There are 2 picks I still want to give out. That's why I'm kind of like, I'm stretching it. We only hit 13,000 likes today, so not as many likes. Still, I really want to give out these picks. Guess I'm going to have to sit on them. Too bad. Had 2 more picks I really wanted to give out, but I think I'm going to have to hold off on it. So definitely appreciate all of those who have been with us today. I want to give a big shout out. Walter, thank you so much. Leon Williams, user 8012, IP Shade 45, LRK 425, Boss Lady Murr, Irving Marquez, G Fewer 19, Chris McNaughton, welcome to the following. Colton, thank you so much for your support today. Drew 7382, thank you. Jorge, it was great to see you today. Appreciate all of those joining us. Big shout out to those watching on YouTube. Dante, thank you so much. Dante, thank you so much. You rock. Appreciate you watching. Caesar, you've just been an unbelievable supporter. Thank you so much, Caesar. Tony, Will, Top Dog, David, Mark. Big shout out to Mark. Really appreciate your support, Mark. Anthony, big shout out. Beth, thank you for watching. Great to see you in this chat. Appreciate all of those who watched today. Appreciate all the support you guys show us. We are live tomorrow at 3 p.m. So on Fridays, we are live at 3 p.m. Eastern. So I know we were early today because of day baseball. On Fridays, we are live at 3 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you hit that follow button. Make sure you're with us tomorrow. 3 p.m. tomorrow. That way we can get out all of our picks for MLB. There is no NBA tomorrow, but make sure you're with us. 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, we will go through all of our picks for tomorrow's action and, of course, recap what went down in Game 5 between the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics tonight. Again, a big shout out to all of those behind the scenes here at Fumble Sports. I know there are so many people who watch and enjoy the show, but little do you know, there are a number of people behind the scenes that make this possible. Could not do it without Bleece NFT, Ryan. Thank you so much. Couldn't do it without you. Big shout out to you. For all of those loyal viewers, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for embracing and supporting Fumble Sports. Means the world to us. Here are all of our picks up on the board. No exclusive subscriber show today because we did not get an additional subscriber. So we are signing off just now. If you missed any part of the show, you can go over to YouTube and check out the entire 2-hour show. And that way, if you missed anything, you can recap or see the recap. You can look at the picks we gave out, our research and everything. Make sure you guys are hitting that follow button. Here are all of our picks. You can see the extra long ball, long shots of the day up there. We have 7 long ball, long shots of the day. We have a ton of other picks. So a lot of action that we will recap tomorrow. Once again, here are all of our picks up here on the screen. You can see them all in one place. If you missed any pick or any of the research, you can find it on our YouTube channel, Fumble Sports. Thank you guys so much. Big shout out to all of you. I hope you have an unbelievable afternoon. I hope you stay healthy, safe, and most importantly, to most of you, I hope you cash a lot of tickets this afternoon and this evening. Thank you for the support. Can't wait to see you tomorrow, Friday, May 26th at 3 p.m. Eastern. 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow,